Revealed, the incredible story of a CEO's lost son and a girl who transformed his life forever. Jake felt as though the world was resting on his shoulders. At 28, the weight of his family's struggles pressed down on him like an anvil. Raised by his single mother in a tiny Midwestern town, Jake had never known his father, a tech CEO who vanished after a tragic accident etched sorrow into their lives. He spent his days in a modest workshop, scraping by, dreaming of a day when he could lift his family from financial ruin. Yet, what gnawed at him the most was the yearning, a longing for the father he never truly got to know. One afternoon, hunger nudged him into a local diner. The bell jingled as he entered, and the aromas of greasy burgers and sweet pies rushed to greet him. He slid into a booth, lost in thought, when a soft voice pulled him back to reality. "What can I get you today?" She wore a warm smile that lit up the dimly lit space, her name tag reading Emma. Over burgers and fries, Jake learned Emma was fighting her own battles. Her father, a war veteran, was sick, and mounting medical bills threatened to evict them from their cherished home. Each word she spoke wrapped around him like a comforting embrace, whispering of hope hidden beneath layers of hardship. In those brief, chaotic moments, amidst the clattering of plates and laughter of customers, a genuine bond began to bloom. They shared dreams and aspirations, crafting a sanctuary that floated above the economic struggles below. The days turned into weeks, and their friendship flourished. But just as Jake began to let hope trickle in, the ground beneath him shifted. He uncovered a family secret. His father's departure was tangled in guilt and remorse stemming from that long-ago accident. Jake's heart clenched as truth poured in like icy water, revealing the complex layers of betrayal he'd never imagined. Emma's world darkened as her father's health spiraled downward, amplifying her anxiety. The town around them seemed to mirror their struggles, but through it all, Jake found solace in being by her side. "We can figure this out together," he often reassured her. They became each other's lifeline, but as the pressure mounted, tension replaced comfort, making each conversation charged with unspoken fears. Finally, Jake couldn't hold back the storm inside him. He sought out his father, finally ready to confront the man who abandoned him. With every ounce of courage, he demanded answers, but the confrontation unspooled layers of deep-rooted pain and sadness. The abandonment echoed in his heart, stinging like salt on an open wound. Just as he began to comprehend redemption, fate twisted the knife deeper. He stood at a crossroads when Emma called, her voice trembling, needing him, the only one left who could help her. Jake's heart raced. He was willing to risk everything for her. At that moment, he could feel salvation knocking at the door, only to be met by a betrayal that rattled his once nurtured resolve. As Jake navigated through this emotional upheaval, the specter of his father's past shadowed him. What did forgiveness look like amid such pain? Would he be able to carve out a sense of belonging, not only for himself but for Emma and his community too? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With every step forward, Jake felt the ties to his father unraveling. Yet, just when it seemed like he'd grasped the threads of forgiveness, the road diverged into a daunting unknown. Would he summon the strength to face his demons and help Emma reclaim her hope? As the dust settled around him, Jake stood poised to redefine not just his relationship with his father, but a renewed connection with love, community, and redemption. What choices lay ahead? What would his heart finally choose? Jake's hands trembled as he pressed his phone against his ear, the frantic voice of Emma echoing in his mind like a haunting melody. "Jake, I don't know who else to call." Her words were punctuated by quick, shaky breaths. He could feel the urgency radiating from her presence even through the phone. "Emma, what's wrong?" he asked, trying to steady his voice. "I need you. Please, Dad had another episode. I don't think he's going to make it." There was a crack in her voice that made his heart drop. He swallowed hard, the weight of her fear settling in his chest. "I'm on my way." The diner faded away as he raced to his car, the familiar streets of their small town blurring past him. The old familiar ache surged through him as he passed the places that held their laughter, their shared moments. But all of that pleasure felt eclipsed by dread now. Arriving at Emma's house, he spotted the flickering lights in the window. A powerful surge of hope collided with a sense of impending doom. He knocked, and Emma opened the door, her eyes glassy with tears. "He's upstairs," she whispered, pulling him in, her small frame vibrating with raw emotion. Jake followed her, each step echoing the mounting anxiety in his heart. When they reached the bedroom, Emma's frail father lay on the bed, pale and struggling for breath. The room felt heavy with the unspoken truth of mortality, a reality they had both fought so hard to push back. "Stay with him, Emma." "I'll be right back," Jake said, and without hesitation, he stepped outside. He needed to gather his thoughts, to find clarity amidst the chaos. Leaning against the porch railing, he closed his eyes. His mind drifted back to the conversation with his father. A wave of guilt washed over him. Did he really have the power to help Emma while wrestling with his own demons? "Jake!" Emma's urgent call pulled him back to the present. He dashed inside, heart pounding. "We might need to," she started, but Jake interrupted. "No. We're not giving up yet. There has to be something." In that moment, their gazes locked, and Jake saw fear mirrored in her eyes. They were both standing on the precipice of loss, desperately grasping for a thread of hope. "We can't lose him, Emma." "Not yet." Jake's voice had steadied, courage igniting within him as he approached her father's side. As his hand enveloped the older man's, he felt an inexplicable connection. "You need to fight, sir. You've got a daughter who believes in you." The sick man stirred slightly, a flicker of awareness shining in his eyes. Jake's heart raced, and he couldn't help but believe that maybe they could pull through together. Maybe they weren't alone in this battle. With Emma by his side, they shared stories about her father, reminding him of happier days, coaxing light into the dim room. Jake felt the atmosphere shift, a chorus of hope forming from their whispered aspirations. Just as Emma leaned in, her voice thick with emotion, the room grew still. In that charged silence, a revelation broke through Jake's mind like dawn breaking through the darkest night. Perhaps this moment wasn't just about loss, it was about resilience, about the choices they had to make in the face of despair, but as his gaze met Emma's, he knew their journey was just beginning. Would they truly find the strength to overcome the shadows that loomed over them? Or would the weight of their pasts pull them down into the abyss? As the tension in the air thickened, Jake realized they had another fight ahead of them, one that would test the very fabric of their being. Would the love they had found in each other be enough to light the way forward? The air around them felt electric, charged with a potency that made Jake's heart race. He held on to the older man's hand, feeling the warmth of a life that still flickered, against the odds. Emma sat on the edge of the bed, her eyes filled with desperation. "Dad, please. We're right here," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Jake gently squeezed her father's hand again. "You're not alone. Keep fighting. Just focus on Emma. She needs you," he urged, pouring every ounce of his belief into those words. The frail man's eyelids fluttered, twitches of recognition sparking a flicker of hope in the stark room. Minutes felt like hours as they waited, the clock ticking down their anxiety. Emma's small fingers intertwined with her father's, a warmth radiating from their connection. "Remember when we went fishing at the lake? You caught that huge bass," she said, trying to pull him from the shadows that threatened to take him away. "You promised we'd go again this summer. Break out that old fishing pole." The older man's breathing steadied just a little, his eyes drifting among the shadows of the room. Jake caught messages in those fleeting moments, memories, dreams, and the struggles of a man who had fought hard for his family. He felt transported back to summer days with his own father, laughter echoing over sunlit waters. But then reality crashed down. Jake, Emma said abruptly, pulling him from his thoughts. If we lose him, what do I do? Her voice trembled, eyes wide and vulnerable. He took a breath. How could he reassure her? You'll find a way. You always have. Just like he did for you, he replied, unsure if his own heart believed it. Suddenly, the sick man's grip tightened slightly around Jake's fingers. Hope ignited again like a match struck against the darkness. Look, you still have the strength, Jake said, his voice growing firmer. Keep fighting just a little longer. The words lingered in the air. Jake noticed Emma's breath catch, her eyes glistening with a hopeful sheen. He felt a purpose swelling within him. He had to help them both find the strength to weather what was happening. Then the room was filled with a sudden commotion. The storm of sirens wailed in the distance, echoing the chaos outside. Help is on the way, sir, Jake murmured to the man, trying to mask the slight tremor in his voice. He glanced at Emma, and fear mingled with resolve in her stare. I can't lose him, Jake, I can't. Just then, the door swung open, and a paramedic team rushed in, first responders bursting with the authority of skills trained for moments like this. The air shifted from despair to frantic energy as they took charge, moving to assess her father's condition. As they worked, Jake stepped back, feeling both relieved and helpless. Emma stood at the foot of the bed, her face a mix of anxiety and disbelief, longing for the assurance that everything would be okay. He could see her heart breaking, and it shattered his own. Encouraging her softly, Jake said, they know what to do. Just give them a minute. But inside, he was at war with his own thoughts. What if this wasn't enough? What if they failed? The steady buzz of voices filled the room, intertwining with urgency. Jake watched Emma's face, desperate to offer her anything. But what was he supposed to say? It all felt so fragile, so close to slipping away. Suddenly, the senior paramedic turned towards them. We need you both to step back for a moment for us to work effectively, he instructed, his voice leaving no room for argument. As Jake stepped aside, a familiar feeling of helplessness clawed at him. He was used to being in control, used to figuring things out. But here, with a life hanging in the balance, all he could do was watch. Their shared pain filled the room, and a sense of dread surrounded them like fog. Would they emerge on the other side, or would this be the moment everything changed forever? In that moment of uncertainty, Jake realized how far he had come since this night started. The knots in his stomach tightened, but no matter what happened next, he knew he couldn't back down. Emma needed him now more than ever. As the team focused on her father, Jake felt a fire ignite within him. He'd fight for them both, no matter what. But every second felt heavy, and the question lingered, were they strong enough to face whatever darkness lay ahead? Jake swayed between hope and despair, the paramedics creating a shield between him and the bed. Emma stood beside him, her shoulder tense against his. Looking at her father, the man who had once seemed so invincible, now lay so fragile. A stream of dread pulsed through the room, mixing with the sharp smell of antiseptic. Is he going to be okay? Emma whispered, her gaze darting back and forth between the paramedics and her father's face. Jake could only offer a weak smile, his heart too heavy for words. The lead paramedic barked instructions, and the energy in the room intensified. Each moment felt like an eternity, limbs frozen with fear. You're doing great, Jake finally said, the words meant for both Emma and the man fighting for breath just a few feet away. Emma turned to him, her eyes swimming with tears. How can you say that? What if they can't fix him, Jake? He was silent for a moment, the question hanging like a dark cloud. The truth was he didn't know. But he also didn't want to take away the flicker of hope they had. We have to believe, he replied quietly, but inside him raged a storm of doubts. The team worked fiercely, adrenaline surging like a wave. Jake felt like an outsider looking in, every second feeling more and more like a dream from which he couldn't wake. He wanted to leap in, to do something, anything, but here he was, standing on the edge of a chasm of uncertainty. He focused on Emma's face, her bravery pulling him back to reality. Suddenly, one of the paramedics stepped away, his expression stern yet focused. "We need you to stay calm," he said to Emma. "We're going to get your dad stabilized, but we need you to breathe and trust us." Jake watched Emma, her face trembling but taut with resolve. This was her dad. She had known him in his best moments, the moments that rocketed through their shared memories like fireworks on the 4th of July. But now, he lay defeated, and the weight of possibility crushed them. Jake moved closer, resting a steadying hand on her back. "You're okay. Focus on me," he whispered, his words intended to ground them both. "Jake, what if," she began, but he interrupted gently. "What if's 1T help us right now?" The team returned, now with a monitor connected to her father. The blip started, a beeping rhythm punctuating the silence. Thick air fell heavy on their shoulders, they were suspended in a moment where hope battled with despair, and Jake felt that fire inside him dwindling to a flicker. Each small sound reverberated: a gasp, a wheeze, the quiet whispers of the paramedics all building into a burning tension. A sudden surge of panic pierced through him. He said, his voice dropping to a hush. "We can't lose this man, not now. He is too important. We need him." Emma clung to Jake, and he cupped her shoulder, urgency flowing through his fingers. "Let us think of him, think of all those good times together. Remember the fishing trip?" she suggested, and with that, a spark ignited. "Yeah. That big base he was so proud of." They began sharing stories, weaving laughter through their fear. "Dad always knew how to tell a good joke," Emma chuckled softly, the slightest smile forming amidst her tears. The paramedics looked up, momentarily distracted by the energy in the room. The shared reminiscences sparked a flicker of solidarity, drawing their focus back from the abyss. And then, without warning, a loud alarm blared from the machine. The sharp sound cut through the thin veil of hope, and the paramedics sprang into action. Jake's heart dropped. They were shifting gears, voices rising in urgency. "Stay back!" one of them shouted, and Jake felt the grip of panic tighten around him. "Emma, hold on to me," he said, realizing they were spiraling into a new and terrifying moment. As the chaos unfolded, everything blurred for Jake. His heart raced. "No, no, no," he muttered under his breath. How could they come this far only to fall apart now? The darkness loomed larger, wrapping around them like chains. And just as quickly, something incredible shifted. A sense of calm spread through the air, grounding him. In the middle of the storm, he knew they wouldn't be alone in this fight. He stood tall next to Emma, arms wide open, believing that the will to fight could birth miracles. "We can do this," he said, even though fear gripped his throat. The next few moments could define everything. Would they rise together or fall under the weight of uncertainty? As the paramedics shouted and the machines wailed, the unknown loomed. Would they face the worst or embrace the impossible? The answer felt just out of reach, like a breath waiting to be taken, and in the heart of that moment, Jake prepared for whatever came next, a night teetering between fear and hope. Would they be strong enough to embrace the dawn? The chaos in the room was palpable. The beeping crescendo of the heart monitor matched the frantic rhythm of Jake's heart. He tightened his grip on Emma, the warmth of her hand anchoring him against the whirl of uncertainty. One of the paramedics leaned over her father, barking out commands that echoed off the sterile walls. "Get the defibrillator," a voice shouted from behind. Jake's stomach churned with every command, each loud order punctuating his rising alarm. The situation felt surreal, like a scene from a movie that was too intense to be real. He took a breath, trying to will himself to think clearly, to grasp at something solid. Emma's eyes met his, fear etched in her features but also a flicker of determination. "Stay with me, Dad," she shouted, her voice breaking, laced with urgency. "You can't leave us. Not now." The paramedics worked diligently, each movement precise, choreographed in the dance of life and death. Jake watched as they pressed the paddles to her father's chest, the energy building in the air, a taut string ready to snap. The sound of the first jolt echoed beside his pounding heart. Clear. The room became a pocket of silence, the world outside fading for a heartbeat. Jake could see the sweat beading on Emma's forehead as she held her breath. He felt the tension in her shoulders, as if they were carrying all the weight of the universe together. When the shock hit, her father jolted, the monitor blaring a new rhythm that made Jake's stomach drop in hope and dread. Responding, one of the paramedics whispered, a hint of triumph in his voice. Emma looked at Jake, surprise and relief mingling in her wide eyes. "Did you see that? He's fighting." But the moment was fleeting. The machine's blip began to flatten again, the beeping turning frantic. "What's happening?" Emma whispered, panic creeping into her voice. "Just hold on," Jake urged, squeezing her hand tighter. They locked eyes, sharing the silent language of hope, of shared memories that flooded their minds like fresh, warm sunlight breaking through the clouds. He thought of her father's infectious laughter and his steadfast support through countless challenges. "He's strong, Em. He's the strongest person I know," Jake said, the words spilling out. He believed in the light that had always guided them through darkness. The paramedics resumed their work, voices a constant hum as they fought against fate. "Get the meds ready. We're going to push epinephrine." Back and forth, the rhythm of the room pulsed with panic and determination alike. Jake marveled at the resilience he saw in Emma, her tears serving as torrents of raw energy, pushing down the walls built of fear around them. Suddenly, memories bubbled up within him, the time her father had taught them both to ride bikes, both of them tumbling into the grass, laughter spilling from their lips. Jake felt that familiar warmth swell inside, a belief that memories, moments cherished, had the power to make miracles happen. "Think of him, Em." Jake urged, his voice steady. "Think of all he's done for us." With every heartbeat, every breath, they cast their hopes on her father, pouring their love into the room, willing him to fight. A strangled sound erupted from the monitor, and Jake's heart sank once more. He could see the paramedics stepping back, their faces a mixed canvas of concern and grit. Come on," he whispered under his breath, a fervent prayer escaping his lips. He felt Emma's grip tighten. "Don't you dare give up yet." But reality teetered on the edge as they watched the paramedics slip into a frantic urgency that hinted at what they feared to say out loud. In that crucial moment, Jake drew Emma closer, burying his face in her hair, summoning every ounce of strength, wishing he could shield her from this pain. Then, as if orchestrated by some unseen force, her father's eyelids fluttered the faintest glimmer of response. There was hope, bright and flickering. But would it be enough? The very air crackled with possibility as a doctor rushed into the room, urgency evident in every stride. What did they have in store? What truths would be revealed in this critical moment? As the future hung in balance, Jake held Emma tightly, waiting for the light of truth to break through the darkness. Would it illuminate their fears or send them spiraling into another struggle? The doctor, a tall figure clad in scrubs, stepped forward with an air of authority that both comforted and alarmed Jake. His eyes quickly scanned the chaos before locking onto her father's motionless body. In the frenzy, the cold reality swept through the room like a chilling wind. What is going on? Emma's voice trembled as she stood at the edge of despair. She was close to breaking. Jake could feel her pulse racing through their joined hands. He squeezed tighter, hoping to transfer strength, making silent promises of a future where her father would be okay. But above the cacophony, the doctor's words sliced through with an urgent clarity. "Let us stabilize him and get an echo. We need to see what we're dealing with." He nodded at the paramedics who began to adjust their equipment, refocusing their efforts. The doctor's tone was firm yet reassuring, igniting a flicker of hope in Jake's chest. "Is he going to be okay?" Emma's voice cracked, desperation lacing every syllable. "We won't know until we examine him further. Stay strong, okay? You've got to believe," the doctor replied, his gaze steady and comforting. As the scene unfolded, Jake fought against the mounting anxiety, digging deep to support Emma. He took a moment to glance around the room. A crowd of supportive family members had gathered just outside the doorway, their worried faces peering in. It left him with a bittersweet feeling. So many links held together in this fragile moment, bonded by love yet threatened by the unknown. Emma leaned closer, her breath hitching as she whispered, what if he no, Jake interrupted gently, cupping her face in his hands. He's stronger than this. We've got to keep believing. Emma looked deep into his eyes, searching for certainty, and in that brief gaze, Jake saw her resolve hardening into something more, something that felt like acceptance amidst the chaos. Perhaps they couldn't change the outcome, but they could hold on to the light of hope. Suddenly, the heart monitor let out a sharp beep, snapping them both back. The doctor moved closer, his focus shifting directly to the monitor. The rhythm of the beeping climbed back to stability, yet Jake's heart plummeted at the sight of her father's stillness. Emma's breath stuttered, a whirlwind of emotions swirling in the atmosphere. He's not no, Jake urged, soft but resolute. Not yet. We can't think like that. We just have to stay right here, okay? With those words, Jake hoped to anchor them both, as though their shared love could create a lifeline through the storm. The moment felt stretched, heavy with anticipation and dread. Just then, her father let out a raspy cough, a sputter of life that spread through the room like wildfire. Emma's eyes widened, reflecting pure disbelief, then thunderous joy. Dad! She shouted, tears spilling down her cheeks. Jake, overwhelmed with emotion, joined her in that vulnerable eruption of relief, his heart pounding a thunderous rhythm of hope. The paramedics surged with renewed energy, responding to the sign of life, and the doctor gestured for them to prepare for another shock, his tone commanding yet calm. Stay with us. We're not done yet. The atmosphere pulsated with revived determination. Jake found his breath hitching as he watched Emma's dad battle for life, the fight echoing their steady belief. In that moment, Jake realized their connection was deeper than they'd ever understood before. They were intertwined in this struggle, bound by love and hope. As the jolt of energy coursed through her father's body once more, the machine began to respond positively, beeps morphing into a steady rhythm. A fleeting moment of joy filled the room, bright against the looming darkness. Yet as the doctor worked, Jake felt an undercurrent of fear return, weaving through the threads of hope he'd fought so hard to preserve. The next dose of reality was coming, and as he watched the doctor's focused eyes, he sensed a crossing point ahead. What fragile balance would define their fate? Would they really pull through, or would they be left standing amid the ashes of shattered dreams? The bright lights of the emergency room hummed overhead, casting a sterile glow that felt both reassuring and unforgiving. Jake's heart raced as he witnessed every movement, every focused gaze of the doctor. Emma clung to him, her grip tightening with each moment that passed. The room pulsed with urgency, a tapestry of hope and anxiety woven tightly together. With a determined focus, the doctor barked instructions at the paramedics. We need to start in 4. Increase the oxygen level. Stay on top of those vitals. His hands moved swiftly, the confidence he exuded a beacon in the storm swirling around them. Emma leaned against Jake, her breaths coming in quick bursts as she fought against the tide of fear threatening to drown her. Is he really going to be okay? Emma finally managed, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake didn't answer right away. He had no guarantees, just the raw hope that surged through him. He's fighting, Em. That has to mean something, right? He turned to look into her eyes, wanting desperately to find grounding amidst the white noise of their situation. The echo machine wheeled in, and Jake watched as the doctor prepped for another assessment. Anxiety etched the faces of the family members just outside the room. Jake caught fragmented snippets of whispered prayers and anxious murmurs, each syllable a reminder of how fragile life could be. Then, without warning, the machinery around her father surged with a cacophony of alarms, a blaring siren mixed with the rhythmic chorus of beeping. The doctor's face hardened, his brow furrowing as he surveyed the situation. Code blue. He bellowed, and time seemed to freeze. The urgency in his voice echoed off the sterile walls, and a palpable wave of fear washed over Jake. Emma pressed her face into Jake's shoulder, and he could feel the heat of her tears soaking through his shirt. "Stay calm," he whispered, although his own heart raced, pounding loudly in his chest. He wanted to shield Emma from every fear, every doubt, but there was a hidden current of urgency in the air that was impossible to ignore. The doctors and nurses surged forward, a fierce battalion of hope and training, working in perfect synchrony. Jake watched in awe, his breath stuttering as he witnessed the lengths they were willing to go. With every jolt and every shout of a command, a silent prayer built within him. "Come on, you can do this," he murmured, not just to Emma's father, but to the universe around them. Then came the moment they feared. The doctor's expression shifted. For the briefest of seconds, his eyes narrowed, revealing a flicker of doubt and unspoken acknowledgement of the hard reality they all faced. "Clear." He forced the words out, and the room filled with the electric crackle of the defibrillator. The air felt heavy, thick with a million unsaid words, filled with the suffocating weight of desperation. A spark surged, causing all eyes to dart towards the monitor. For a moment, the world turned as silent as the void, hanging on a thread, suspended in hope and dread. Then, slowly, the beeping stabilized once more, but there was no euphoria in the room like before. Instead, apprehension had taken root, and a tightness held Jake's chest in its iron grip. "Is he?" Emma's voice cracked, reaching for the thread of hope that seemed to slip through their fingers. The doctor remained focused, unwilling to share hopes or fears just yet. With an electrifying sense of doubt looming large, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a long battle. He squeezed Emma's hand with renewed fervor, wanting her to feel the strength he barely held onto himself. "We're here. We'll face this together." Yet as they all watched, hearts intertwined in hope, a heavy realization settled deep within Jake. The fight wasn't over, and with each passing moment, he wondered what would happen when the light of fight faded. Would their love, their shared strength, be enough to withstand the storm ahead? The moments dragged on, heavy with unspoken fears. Jake and Emma stood rooted in their spot, the vibrant energy of the emergency room contrasting sharply with the cold chill settling over them. Each beep from the machines felt like a countdown, an echo of their collective anxiety. As the doctor continued to work, Jake caught a glimpse of Emma's face in the fluorescent light, her features illuminated by worry. He could see the way her lips quivered slightly, the hope and dread battling within her. He started, but his voice caught in his throat. What could he say to lift her from this abyss of uncertainty? "Why is this happening?" she murmured, almost to herself. Her question hung in the air, raw and aching. It wasn't just about her father anymore, it was about everything, the life they had, the future they'd built and now feared losing. Jake momentarily felt a wave of frustration clash with the sorrow that swirled around them. Life had felt so predictable before. Just days ago, they had shared laughs over a simple dinner, dreams woven into casual conversation. And now? Now they were engulfed in a nightmare from which they couldn't wake. A nurse moved past them, her purposeful stride stirring Jake from his thoughts. "Emma," she called, glancing back. "You can step out for just a minute. We need to reset some equipment." It was only a small act, but it felt monumental. Emma hesitated, eyes darting toward the door. "I can't leave," she insisted. "I can't." "Just for a moment," Jake urged gently. "I'll come with you." He knew she needed to breathe, needed a moment away from the oppressive weight of fear. With a shaky breath, Emma finally gave a small nod. He led her to a small waiting area just beyond the glass doors. Quiet enveloped them here, broken only by the distant murmur of hospital life. As they sank into two stiff chairs, their hands still clasped tightly, Jake took a deep breath. "Listen, we want to do everything we can for him, and being in there, it's a lot right now." Emma stared blankly ahead, but he could see the wheels turning in her mind. What if it doesn't work, Jake? What if she choked on the word? The vulnerability in her voice struck him like a bolt to the heart. "Don't," he said, lifting her chin gently. "We have to believe. For him, for us. Jake recalled how much he wanted to see Emma smile again. He cherished the light she brought into every room, even in the darkest moments. "Remember that time we went camping?" he asked, wanting to redirect her thoughts. "You insisted we make s'mores, and we burned half of them. But you said, every good memory has to have some fire in it." A flicker of a smile tried to break through the clouds of despair on her face. "Yeah, I remember that. I think we ended up just throwing them away. And yet we had fun, didn't we? It was just a stupid camping trip, but it meant something." He squeezed her hand tighter. "We can't forget those moments, Em. They're what keep us going." Emma nodded slowly, the tension in her shoulders seeming to ease just a little. "You're right. It's just the uncertainty is killing me." In that quiet moment, surrounded by echoing footsteps and muted voices, they both realized something. They might not have control over what happened next, but they had each other. In the midst of chaos, that connection was their anchor. As they collected themselves, the door to the emergency room swung open. The doctor stepped through, his expression enigmatic. "I need to talk to you both." Jake's heart pounded anew. Emma's grip tightened so hard it almost hurt. They both stood, anxious breaths forgotten. What did the doctor want to say? Did it mean good or bad news? Just before the doctor spoke, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. He glanced at Emma, wondering if they were ready for whatever came next. Could they handle the truth that hung in the air like fog? And suddenly it hit him. What if the truth revealed more than they were prepared for? The doctor took a deep breath, an unmistakable weight in his eyes. Jake felt his stomach clench. "I wish I had better news," he began, and the words hit like a punch. "Your father's condition is serious. We've done all we can," but he hesitated, glancing between them, searching for the right words. Emma squeezed Jake's hand tighter, the fear leaking into the space between them. "But what?" she pressed, her voice wavering. "Is there hope?" "We're doing our best to stabilize him, but he needs a lot of support," the doctor continued. "It's critical we get him transferred to a specialized facility. There, they can provide more intensive care." Jake exchanged glances with Emma, both of them feeling the weight of that statement. A sense of urgency propelled his thoughts. "How long do we have?" The question tumbled out before he could catch himself. "Every minute counts," the doctor replied, his tone somber. "Once we make arrangements, it could be a few hours before he's ready for transport." Hope fluttered within Emma, but it was quickly shrouded by shadows of doubt. "Do you really think he'll be okay?" The doctor's gaze softened. "I can't promise anything. But getting him to the right place is crucial. The sooner, the better." Jake held Emma's gaze, searching for reassurance. "We need to do this. We can't sit here and do nothing." She nodded, determination creeping into her expression. "Right. Let us make sure he gets the care he needs." With that, they left the waiting area behind, urgency driving their steps back to the emergency room. Every second felt like a race against time, and as they approached, Jake's heart quickened, further fear mingled with a growing spark of hope. It was a delicate balance, and he wanted to cling to it for as long as possible. Inside, the medical team was already preparing for the transfer. Emma's father lay so still, machines humming around him, life being held in delicate equilibrium. She stepped forward, her breath hitching at the sight of him, and Jake instinctively wrapped an arm around her shoulder. The smell of antiseptic filled the air, thickening the atmosphere. "What can we do?" Emma's voice trembled as she found her footing, determination resurfacing in her eyes. "Can we help with anything?" One of the nurses looked up, meeting her gaze with kindness. "Just being here helps. Support matters." Jake watched as Emma's features softened, her strength illuminating the dim room. Despite the impending challenges, he saw the core of who she was: unyielding, fierce. That realization bolstered him, reminding him that they were in this together. As the team began discussing the logistics, Jake pulled Emma aside. "We can make it through this," he whispered, wishing to bolster both their spirits. "We've done hard things before." She took a deep breath, nodding. "And we'll do it again." For him. While they stood, hands intertwined, the gravity of their situation began to draw tighter. The faith she held was contagious, breaking through layers of despair. But in the back of Jake's mind, an unsettling feeling lingered. What if they weren't prepared for the full truth? What if they had only scratched the surface of what was at stake? Just then, Emma turned to him, her eyes wide. "Jake, what if we have to face something even bigger than this?" Before he could respond, the doctor approached them again. "We should be ready for the transfer soon. I have a few more things I need to discuss with you both." Jake felt the air leave his lungs as dread crept back in. Whatever the doctor had to say, it might just change everything for them. Could they muster the strength for whatever revelation awaited? The tension was palpable, and there was no turning back. What would the doctor reveal next? Would it be a glimmer of hope, or something more devastating? Only time would tell. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a gentle glow through the hospital windows as Jake and Emma sat together, anticipation hanging in the air like fog. Each breath was heavier than the last. Hours had turned into an eternity since the news of Emma's father's condition had sent shivers down their spines. Now, they both braced themselves, knowing that the revelations about to come could alter everything. The doctor stepped into the room, his expression serious yet hopeful. Jake and Emma shared a glance, a silent acknowledgement that they were ready for whatever came next. "We've stabilized your father for the moment," the doctor began, and Jake could feel Emma's body tense beside him. "However, we need to be real about the situation. Just tell us," Emma urged, a fierce determination in her eyes. "We can handle it." The doctor nodded, offering a gentle smile. "He will need surgery to address the underlying issues, and it is risky, but without it, his chances for survival drop significantly. We can wait to schedule it until you're ready to make a decision." Jake felt the tightening in his chest. A risk? What did that even mean? But he looked at Emma, whose eyes were bright with unshed tears, and he knew deep down they had to move forward. "We have to do it," he said resolutely, squeezing Emma's hand. "He deserves every chance." Emma nodded, her voice thick but unwavering. "Whatever it takes. We'll fight for him." The doctor's expression turned serious. "I need to warn you, there's no guarantee. It's complicated, and his recovery will take time." Emma swallowed hard, resolutely meeting the doctor's gaze. "We've been fighting this whole time. We can't stop now." In that moment, Jake felt her strength pour into him, filling every inch of worry and fear with a light that felt almost tangible. This was it. No turning back. They would take this plunge together, no matter how terrifying it seemed. Outside the room, family members were waiting, anxieties evident in their postures, whispers of concern creating a soft hum of panic. As the doctor walked them through what would happen next, Jake and Emma exchanged glances filled with understanding. They were growing stronger, intertwined within a shared purpose. After consolidating the final decisions, Jake felt hope starting to bubbling in the back of his mind. Every moment they spent supporting each other had fortified their bond, and he realized this journey was not only about Emma's father. It was a journey of resilience, and together they would overcome whatever life threw their way. "I'll find a way to keep you both grounded," Jake promised Emma as they prepared for the surgery. "Whatever happens, we'll be right there, together." The hours blurred, filled with medical staff going in and out, promising to do everything they could. Emma was quiet yet fierce, her determination palpable. When the time came for her father to head to surgery, her quiet strength pulled Jake back into reality. He knew this was their story of love, support, and the undying spirit of hope. "Remember all those fishing trips?" Jake whispered, knowing they would need this memory to cling to as they faced their biggest fears. Every cast was a chance for something big. Emma smiled through her tears. And every catch was a victory. We have to see this as that too. As her father was wheeled away, they stood together, breathing through their fears while holding tight to their memories. Outside, the world continued on, but inside, the two created a sanctuary, a warm pocket of hope. Hours passed in silence, the waiting room punctuated by distant conversations and the occasional voice rising above the rest, a reminder of the fragile beauty of life. Jake took that opportunity to wrap his arms around Emma, grounding her with his presence, hoping to share all his belief and love. Then, just as the day crowned fully above them with a warmth that felt almost sacred, a doctor finally stepped into the waiting room. Time slowed, hearts ached, and hope once again hung delicately in the air. He made it, the doctor began, a soft smile creeping across his face. We were able to do the surgery, and he is stable. It's going to be a long road ahead, but he is fighting. Just like you both did. Tears streamed down Emma's cheeks, relief flooding her body like a sun breaking through clouds. Thank you, she whispered, the weight of 1,000 fears lifting off her shoulders. Thank you so much. As they embraced, Jake felt the warmth of love pulse through them both, interlacing their hearts together, a connection forged in the fire of hope. They had faced their fears, and now they'd be stronger for it. Days turned into weeks, but with each visit, her father's progress illuminated every corner of the hospital room. Each small smile was a victory, each word spoken a reminder of their tenacity. Their bond flourished through this trial, fortifying a familial connection like none they'd ever imagined. Eventually, one evening, as they sat together, Emma looked at Jake, her expression serious yet hopeful. What if we took this strength we've built and shared it? What do you mean? Jake asked, intrigued. What if we help others who find themselves in situations like ours? We could start a support group somewhere other families can find hope, just like we did. Jake felt his heart swell. That's a brilliant idea. Together, we could make a difference. And just like that, as they forged a new path of purpose and love, they knew the next chapter of their story would unfold through acts of compassion, light and resilience, a testament to the journey of healing both their families had embraced. Instead of the shadows of their past, they stood together in the light of hope, ready to lift others like they had once lifted each other. Their hearts and lives intertwined, they knew that true power lies in connection, and together they would ignite change. This moment was only the beginning. Now's your chance to be part of something bigger. You need to subscribe now for more stories that touch the heart, and this is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second. Leave a like to feed the algorithm and ensure you don't miss what's next. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this incredible ending and share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to hear this transformative message. Let us inspire each other to rise together.